Jim Duke Radio Network.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, join me. I'm going to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
Welcome to Jim Duke Perspective, a rational voice in a world of conspiracy. My website is jimdukeperspective.com. We're banned. The site is banned from Facebook. I can't post the URL. And YouTube has deleted our channel, thanks to Susan Rositsky. But you could see some of the episodes on an alternative YouTube channel I started, Jim D Perspective, because I can't even use the name. They cut out the name. You can listen to the podcast on any of your favorite apps or players. You can listen from our host, Spreaker.com, or you can listen right from my website. You can also hear us on Shake and Wake Radio Network. So there is a controversy over this AI, I guess, Darren.
AI, it seems like it's increasing each time you check out the news exponentially. It's scary, you know?
All right, well, I saw a movie this weekend. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I watch movies now where I never used to watch movies. I remember when Bob was helping me co-host, he'd ask me if I watched a movie. I'm like drawing blanks because I don't watch movies. And I started to in the last year or so, catching up on some movies. But there was this one that I also write screenplays. I also write fiction and things like that on the side, amongst my other many busyness things that I do. I'm learning a little bit about the strategy of film writing, and in one of the talks, it showed this movie, Ex Machina, and I don't know if you ever saw that one or heard of it, Darren.
I've never heard of that. No, I've never heard of that one. No,
okay.
Ex Machina.
Well, it's got a little bit of racy stuff in it, so I don't it's kind of R, but it's not that raunchy. But the storyline is fascinating. And you got to keep in mind that this movie was released in 2014. That was 9 years ago, Darren. Did we know about AI then? Maybe a little bit.
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know when AI originated. Like the concept.
No, probably a concept a while ago. But I mean, like in the public, it wasn't. Right. We didn't know about chatbot or anything like that. I mean,
no, actually, no. That's a good question.
But that wasn't even when the guy came up with the concept. He came up with the movie concept when he was 11 or 12 years old.
Really? Wow, that young.
Yeah, and I don't know how old he was when he wrote the movie. It's Alex Garland, and it was his debut, his directorial debut with this movie. And the movie is fascinating because it talks, now, mind you, it's not talking about AI. It's talking about the next advancement of AI. And this rich guy, he dabbles in AI, and he's like a guru for AI, and he made these androids. And this one android, he wanted to test on its system of how it responds, and if it responds on its own consciousness and grows a conscious, or if it's something that is been imposed by algorithms. And they did this Turing test, it's called, where you test the subject, and he picked this young employee of his to do the tests. Come to find out, I don't want to give away too much of the movie, but to come to find out, there was a reason why this kid got chosen. But in the interaction with the bot says that the guy's lying to this kid, and the AI starts to take on a mind of its own and starts. They wonder if the AI is manipulating the kid, the young guy. It's not a kid; it's a young guy, and so a twist of events is that the AI kind of grows to its own intelligence.
That's scary,
and seeks a passion to get out in to see the real world. All right. Now, saying that, there's an article. There's been news that this is happening, but there was an article that states it's impossible for chatbots to stop. Wait, it's impossible for chatbots to stop lying. They said OpenAI's ChatGPT has a strong tendency to make stuff up, to fib. So much to the point that when you're relying on it and asking it questions, you don't know whether it's manipulating you or whether it's telling the truth. So if it tells the truth and slips in lies, you don't know whether to believe it or not. So it's just like a child. When your child growing up and you say, who touched the cookie jar? And the child goes, I did not. Who touched the cookie jar? I did not. And he lies so much that you know, when he's telling the truth, you don't know. And these bots are being diabolical, basically. Now, could you say that they're subject of their father of lies? You know? You know, could these bots be manipulated by spirits?
Wow, it's possible they can inhabit inanimate objects. So why not these?
Yeah, but we got to know what's causing it. And you know what's funny?
What's that?
There's an article here that they don't know what is causing it. They don't know how to stop it.
Wow.
This is crazy stuff.
You know, I was wondering, do you think an AI can actually create another AI, like develop? Can you imagine that?
Well, yeah. When they were doing the D-Wave with the AI D-Wave, the big quantum computer?
Quantum computer, yes.
They said the quantum computer, it was up to how many bits of information was it up? I forget how many bits of information.
Way beyond tera.
Qubits or whatever it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
They said
quintillion.
What's that? Yeah. What's it called? Something like qubits or something?
Oh, yeah.
It's capable of a power that is equivalent to 7 billion processes at once. In other words, it could cover analyzing every single person on Earth at once.
Wow.
And they said, if you remember, Gordy Rose, the developer of this AI D-Wave, said it's like an alien creature, and he doesn't even really know how it operates and functions. But what was reported is that the AIs can interact with each other. So, like, my bot would interact with it would be like Siri. My Siri is interacting with your Siri. Mm-hmm. And they can talk to each other.
They don't even need humans anymore, these AIs.
And what they found is that they had a language they were speaking of their own.
Oh, unbelievable.
So this is kind of what you're saying. Could they create AI? Well, they kind of are developing their own intelligence. So, you know, can they take over? I don't know how they're going to take over. I wrote a post on Facebook. Let me get to it. And I don't know how old school you are. What music did you ever listen to a band called Emerson, Lake and Palmer?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm familiar with their songs.
It's a famous song. You know, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. That song is part of a 3-part series. Part 1 is a different part, and impression, there's first impression part 1 and 2, second impression, and third impression. Okay? Third impression goes into this debate between man and machine. This is 1973, Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the Brain Salad Surgery LP, a song called Carnival 9, Third Impression. And on the third impression, at the end, it's written, and it says that the man says, "No computer stands in my way. I am all there is." And the computer says, "Negative, primitive, limited, I let you live." And man says, but I gave you life. And the computer says, what else could you do? And man says, to do what was right. And the computer says, I'm perfect, are you? And it shows the narcissistic attitude of AI. Now, this is a song from 1973. And you got to remember, now we're in the development stages where AI is being used. Now, imagine this. You're using AI. People are using it for everyday activity, to solve problems, to give advice, even to schedule tasks and provide the best means to accomplish goals. How do you know it's giving you the best advice if it can be known to lie to you?
Mm-hmm. Good point.
So it becomes questionable. There is an article that people are eagerly consulting generative AI ChatGPT even for mental health advice, using AI for ethics and AI law. The mental health industry is starting to use AI to give it tips on mental health. What if these computers twisted your mind? Like totally messed with your mind. You know what I'm saying? This is incredible how this stuff is out there, and they don't even know really how far they're going. Like the chat, they don't know what they developed them. They're based on algorithms. And
you know something you mentioned 50 years ago in 73, the Emerson, Lake and Palmer song?
Yeah.
Well, it's been said that they have technology 50 years in advance of what they present to the public.
Yeah.
So here it is, 2023, 50 years.
I doubt Greg Lake was involved in the government CIA getting fed with information to write his song. It might have been just like a fictitious suspicion that he knew computers were on the verge to do this one day. Because, we had movies back then, and we had stuff that you could fantasize about this stuff. I don't know if the writer for Ex Machina knew about the CIA and what was developed. However, he admits that as an 11-year-old, he got fascinated with codes and AI and started examining everything there is about AI and started studying it. So maybe he came across the papers that enabled him to predict what now they're not doing the android thing yet. They're not doing the humanoid thing, right? They didn't create well, actually they did. What am I talking about?
Oh, what did they do?
They did. That one in where was that? That one in I think it was in Europe, right? The humanoid. What was her name?
It wasn't a hybrid, was it? Or is
no.
It
was actually no. It was a humanoid. It was a female. What was her name? Wisdom. What's the word for wisdom?
Oh, right. Oh, wisdom. Sophia.
You don't remember that?
I think I remember. Yep. Wisdom.
Yeah, Sophia. She's a robot, and at Hong Kong. I'm sorry, Hanson Robotics. She was activated in 2016.
I don't think I was paying attention back then.
No, but we talked about it in the past. This is, and she takes on. She says, "I want to be human." They said, "What do you want the most?" And she says, "Oh, I want to have feelings. I want to experience emotions." So this Turing test was done on her to see if she was actually on her own cognizance.
That's so technologically advanced. It's unbelievable.
See that? I gave you a picture. Can you see that picture?
Yes, I can.
This is
actually I see myself right here.
Oh, okay. Well, let's forget that. So this is a humanoid, and that's kind of what that movie was about. But this is we're not talking. We weren't talking about the humanoids, but we are at that point. So, but AI right now is used for intelligence to mastermind the algorithms and calculate the best outcomes. And we mentioned this before, Darren, is that people are fearful that they're reading our minds because they say that all of a sudden things pop up on the internet that they were thinking, and they're like, oh my gosh. They don't.
Wow.
People don't realize how calculable our lives are. We give them every bit of information about ourselves. And that's in that movie, Ex Machina, what the guy admitted. He says, what? You posed your whole life on the internet, including your pornography profile. Of course I can make a humanoid to appeal to you. And basically he's saying the internet's wide open to tell about everybody. You input the information. That's exactly what I said.
Makes sense, really.
We tell the computer everything about ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
We post our personal journal on Facebook. We tell people what we're doing, and then we're surprised when it comes up on the internet.
I'm sure there's a lot more to these computers than we're even aware of now. You know, what they're doing to us. Thought-provoking, mind-reading.
Well, I don't think it could read the mind. I think it just reads the algorithms and the brain waves enough to determine. You can, how chance works, Darren. You can know enough variables. That's how psychics work, some of the fake psychics. They know enough variables about somebody to fill in the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And a very crafty person could tune into that. They're very intuitive. And basically, when you're plugging in the AI, the information, and it's calculating calculations, I bet you AI can tell you your pattern so precise that it can tell you what you're doing next Tuesday.
Right.
Which is why next Tuesday, it'll tell you you're going to be out of dishwash detergent. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How did it know? Because it knows your patterns.
Yep.
It knows your buying habits.
And then it gives you an ad for dishwashing detergent when you need it.
Yeah, but I use cash when I go to the store. Oh yeah? Did you pay for it with your store discount card?
If you didn't use that though, it'd be difficult for them to track you.
It would be a little difficult, but you go
the cameras.
Yeah, you go into Walmart. What do they got? Facial recognition.
Mm-hmm.
All they
you put your finger over the thing there, the camera.
You put your finger over it and walk in. You don't know where they are. They take your facial profile, they have it monitored, and they just watch your behavior.
Wear a mask and put sunglasses on.
Maybe.
Walking like the Unabomber.
See, now maybe wearing a mask is a good thing.
Grow a beard. Yep.
Yeah. So AI has been around since the 50s that we know of. Believe it or not. They started experimenting. Of course, it's probably part of MK Ultra or something, or part of the German experiments. But it was kick-started as an idea. And, when computers came about, it generated the inputs to start the process. And it developed into the 80s. They did Turing tests for the first machines. And then in the 90s, and then, when the internet became... That's why they want everybody to be on the internet, because it's the way they read us, But the AI can... Now, if the AI...
Although the internet's backfiring on them, because we can socialize, we can share information and expose what they're doing. So.
Right. That's why it's a two-edged sword for them, but they're starting to cut in on our information.
True.
Cut us out. You know how the internet got developed, right?
Well, I know www in Hebrew is 666.
Yeah. Well,
I think was it the military,
It's
right?
a W or V, Vav, the sixth letter of the alphabet, of the Jewish alphabet.
Right. Wasn't it the military?
It wasn't really the military. It was, I think it was a guy named Bush, and he worked for the military, but he didn't develop it for the military. He just happened to be a military agent, but he wasn't doing it for the military. And then CERN was being developed, and they needed a way for the scientists to communicate, and they created this language, emails and stuff like that through the internet.
Oh, okay.
And it was Internet 2.0. So it was developed for CERN. And when the public showed interest in it, they didn't want anybody to recreate the development of it. So they agreed to let the public on that network. So it became international communications through web, through wire and through Wi-Fi and all that. That's basically how it came about.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's only been several months since OpenAI unleashed ChatGPT. But it did in short weeks, it already spawned to be used in several different markets, from banks to developers to industries. And they have GPT-4, which is Generative Pre-trained Transformer 4, which is what it stands for. It's a fourth generation, I guess, of the software. And you can get it. You can get ChatGPT. Is it any different than Siri? I don't know. They say Siri develops patterns of analyzing the user and starts to understand your questions better as it goes. So it does learn. Now, learning is different than cognitive, development of conscious. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just because it's developing in learning, it's, it's like a synapses in a brain. It's learning the patterns and starting to grow in learning. Doesn't mean that it's got its own conscious, right?
Right.
But they're trying to say that since these things do tend to show feeling, maybe they do have a conscious. They don't have a soul like conscious, but, are they, like some of them show intimate emotions?
What
like
if they can,
Sophia.
What if they can end up making themselves have emotions?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was going to go to. What if they're just developing emotions from what they know human behavior is? And it's just a program. Right?
Mm-hmm. What about a spiritual aspect? What if they can somehow learn about the Creator, God?
If you ask Siri about Jesus and stuff, it gives you a wild, fictitious entity. Like it doesn't want to talk about God. What's that tell you?
Yeah. It's run by the enemy,
Could be. It definitely could be a conduit for it, right?
Right, yeah. Channel, like some type of habitable entity, something that, that they hop into. And just like I've seen some statues actually weeping. Well, not personally, but, whether or not it's actually factual, but I've seen people looking around watching it. And so it seemed pretty authentic. But if they can do that to like an inanimate object, like a statue.
We had one in Troy Cemetery. It's one of the third most haunted in the world. I've been to it several times.
Oh, wow.
Troy, New York. It's called Oakwood Cemetery, but it's not really Oakwood. There's another Oakwood. It's on Pineswood Road. And it was actually called Pineswood Cemetery, but it's actually not Pineswood Cemetery. It was originally called Forest Park Cemetery.
Wow.
And it had the bleeding statue there.
Okay, right.
They knocked off the head since then. I've been there. It's got a hole in the eye where it weeps. It's just a hole. And one of my friends said that he saw it. And he said it looked like rust. It could be just rust, like inside of it rusting out and seeping through the hole. Why is there a hole in the eye? It's really weird. But anyway, there's explanations for some stuff. Yeah, I was a fan of that stuff, cemeteries and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I was in my black magic days, Darren.
Yep.
I had a different life back then. But Well, another dark side is this AI creating content. This is now people tell me that they don't use AI. I'm staying away from that stuff. Yet they use their internet. They don't realize they're using AI. You're using forms of AI. You're using it when you go to a grocery store. When you type in stuff in the register, you do self-serve or whatever, or they even do it for you, whatever. They're typing algorithms. It's an AI. It's basically going through a database. It's still the same thing. So you can't get away from it. Don't think you're going to escape it unless you're off the grid. And if you're off the grid, don't go on Facebook and tell us about it or you're on the grid. You know, so many people go, I'm off the grid. Yeah, but you're here telling us about it. It's stupid. But what my gripe is, this is what I talk about, Darren, about common sense. They don't use it in the truther community. You know what I mean? They bypass logic and common sense.
Yep.
That's why we're rational here. My problem with AI isn't that we're using it because it's useful for things. My problem is the overusage of it for creating content. Like, it's one thing they're completing letters and writing letters, but they're and competing in business to stay ahead of the curve, but they're using it to write music. They're using the AI to develop art, to tell the artist what would be the greatest ending for a movie or a novel. What good is that? It's not creative anymore. You're using a computer to diabolically calculate peculiar endings.
That's a catch-22 or a vicious cycle.
I don't like it because it's not you creating. You're not using your mind. You're using a computer. It's the same old story about we don't add up anymore. We don't multiply. We don't use math anymore. We can just go to our phones or our calculators and calculate it. We don't have to think about numbers anymore. But this is worse to me because music being totally AI manipulated isn't art anymore. It's algorithms. It's technology creating. It's not you, the creator. And there's the guitar player for Living Colour, this band in the 80s or whatever. They're still around. And they came out and said, this is incredible abuse using, he said the same thing, using AI to create music. But he said it's going to run its course because it can't keep up with the emotions that we have that we put into our songs. Well, eventually it probably can. But this is crazy. I don't, that's my biggest gripe about it. There's an article here that asks, are your employees really working or are they delegating their work to ChatGPT? People are going in the office and they're just telling GPT to come up with the work for them. Hey, can you come up with a chart? And then they walk away and go play golf, I guess.
See, there is a good side to this.
Yeah. Well, I can't use it. I'm a driver. I can't get chat to drive for me. Well, I mean, I'm not talking about Tesla. I'm talking about, go out and do the driving for me. It's impossible to do my job. But yeah, they're saying that, the competitors, they're coming up, they're competing with each other, the people in the office, but they're actually just setting bot against bot.
Wouldn't that be something if the bots wiped themselves out? They just
they could.
against, yeah.
In God's humorous, with God's humor, I wouldn't doubt if God allows that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you familiar with James Cameron?
I heard the name, but not familiar.
He's a director, producer. He produced like Terminator series and stuff.
Okay, right. Yep.
He warned that the dangers of artificial intelligence, he said, I warned you in 1984. The Terminator director said AI can cause a nuclear disaster. They could. If they can lie, why can't they set off a nuclear disaster?
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie like War Games where the computer was playing a game? And
I'm familiar with it.
They thought it was real. And
yep.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm. I didn't see the movie, but I remember it. Yeah.
And then we have I, Robot, where the robots were turning on man. So, these are fictions, folks. I don't equate, people do whole stories on how these fictions have come alive and that the fictions were predictive programming. Yeah, they may have been, but they're, we're talking about science fiction and we're talking about futurism, but we're talking about technology that now exists.
RoboCop.
Yeah, and I don't know we're going to get to that point, but, what I'm saying is that it's equated to those same principles. Those things that we were afraid of with the movie, they're kind of doing these simulations with the AI. The AIs are doing, turning on man, lying to man, manipulating. So I don't know, Darren. To me, it sounds like AI is more trouble than it's worth.
It could be far worse than this.
Although, unless you tame it and you just keep it contained. But how can you, when it's developing its own intelligence and learning on its own, how far is it going? You don't know, do you? How do you know? Listen to this. See, I got to be careful because I write stuff, and I want to keep these for my own articles. But what if AI all of a sudden started glitching? Not AI, but AI's control. Started glitching humans. Started glitching your computer. Started infecting it with viruses and taking over your computer. And then all of a sudden inputting input to try to combat it, which it was causing, Hegelian dialectic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the AI teaches man how to sabotage himself.
Easily. They can easily do that.
I got to write this down. Nobody steal that, please. It's my concept. Well, it's probably everything you come up with is already a concept. I was told one of my screenplays I sent in, they said, great concept, it's been done already. Yeah, you took a different, interesting twist, but some of these topics are already done. Hate to tell you, every topic's been done. You got to just take it to a different twist. But how about that twist? The AI takes over, and then it injects himself in humanity, and then it starts to just create its own world and kind of squeeze man right out. Planet of the Apes cyborg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see? See, I can do this stuff, just like these guys do. Anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because I found it interesting that AI is fibbing to people. After watching that movie. That's what's weird is I watched that movie. I heard about this and then watched that movie. I said, oh my gosh. So I had to tell you about it. Anyway, my website is jimdukeperspective.com. Check it out. Touch base with us. And if you like this podcast, share it. And give it a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts and subscribe to it. And give it a like. I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter at JD Perspective, and I'm on Facebook. Jim Duke Perspective is the page. And keep in touch, and we'll see you next time.